will win in a LEGO matchup between a Mark VII Mini Cooper, a Ferrari F40, a Generation 3 Volkswagen Beetle, and a Generation 1 Ford Mustang GT Fastback? Well, we're going to find out. I'm the Green Brick, and you're watching me. Well, you're not actually watching me, I'm behind the camera, but I'm the Green Brick, and you're watching my channel, which is also called the Green Brick, so... This matchup involves 4 cars from the Creator Expert theme, before it phased out and was replaced by icons. These are what started it all, dating back to the first in the series, the Mini Cooper from 2014. There were other vehicles in the theme, but they're not part of this matchup. Let's first start off with comparing piece count, price, and price to part ratio. The Mustang has the most pieces and is quite a bit larger than the others. This extra piece count is also due to the fact that it has customizable options. More on that later on. The retail price of these three were 100 USD. The Mustang started out at 150, but later on was jacked up to 170. Speaking of which, you can also jack up the Mustang. That's one of its customizable options. But I told you I'd talk about that later. Sorry. Even at 150, the price to part ratio was highest. The most bang for the buck came from the F40 and the Bug. And this is where we start the scoring. Now, before things get all serious with this points battle, I wanted to do something a little fun. So behind these boxes, I've got some other Creator Expert and Icons cars, along with their mini companions. Looks like the competitors also have their mini companions here to support them, and that is just so sweet. Okay, it's time for you to leave. Bye-bye. Go on. With the little ones gone, there's no holding back. No Mr. Nice Green Brick. Okay, well, let's take a look at the boxes. I think this looks very pleasant. It utilizes the space on all edges of the box for different images of the car. A lot of functionality demonstrated on the back. Spoiler alert, there's a picnic basket. And there's the real car on the bottom of the box. Awesome. This box art is a bit more plain, a bit more chic, I guess. The official licensed product. There's the real car. Yes. There's the back showing functionality. Good. The Volkswagen Beetle. Yeah, I like that beach scene. All the parts are shown on the top for all of them. Different views of the car. The real car. Yes. And there's the look from the back. Excellent. Now moving on to the Mustang. Don't mind the box damage. Believe it or not, this is not due to shipping. This is the way I got it at the LEGO store, and I didn't even pay that price. I paid less than that. There's one thing missing from this. An image of the real car. So, I'm giving all cars a point, with the exception of the Mustang. Now let's move on. Well, this is embarrassing. Not the fact that the Mustang is losing, but I left off this piece during the whole video. Why didn't you say anything? I thought we were friends. I shouldn't have said anything. Maybe no one would have noticed. Anyway, this video is probably only going to get a few thousand views. Now let's move on to the book battle. Yeah, that's a thing. There's 2 books for this Mini Cooper, but it doesn't really make sense because it's not like a team-up thing. And it goes right into the building instructions. Same with the F40. Right into the building instructions. It's not until you get to the Mustang. That's when things shape up. Yeah, a little bit of history about the Mustang. The many different generations on this page, once I get to it. There's so much here, even a tidbit on the designer. By the way, Mike Psyche designed all 3 of these cars. Interesting tidbit. And what also is interesting, just point out all of the functionality, all the details. And then, finally, we get into the building. And even during the building, you get tidbits. Psyche was modest when designing the F40, but as time went on, his name got embedded into the license plates, and he became legend.
My name is Mike, and I'm a designer for LEGO Creator. Hi, my name is Mike, and I'm a designer for LEGO Creator.
Even Mike's hair got legendary. The Mustang will be awarded a point for the Battle of the Instructions. Now let's move on to the Battle of the Packaging. There's really no competition here. Though the Cooper, F40, and Bug have numbered bags, they aren't sorted as well as the Mustangs, making it for a much easier building experience. The windscreens are also packaged separately, and as a result, you can see the difference between the scratched up condition of the F40's windscreen and the mint quality preservation of the Mustangs. Here's what the score looks like now. Let's start narrowing in on some details. I don't think you're ready for that. I'm talking about decorated elements. These are your prints versus stickers. I appreciate that this subtle detail of the pinstriping going the full length of the car is printed. Everything else is stickered up on the exterior, including logos, plates, and the support columns. On the interior, the only thing that's printed are the gauges behind the steering wheel, but that's standard on all cars. For the Bug, the windows are all framed up with stickers, including here, there, and up here. The cooler has some stickers, but I didn't apply all of mine. You can customize that to your liking. The plates are stickered up. However, the logos are printed. New printed tile here, and the same one in here. The Ferrari logos on the F40 are done with stickers. I do like how this line is incorporated into the build, this black line, and it goes all the way around the entire car, but it's broken up right here. There's some stickers that it relies on those curved slopes. The pop-up headlight feature is done with a sticker. These columns are printed though. The logo on the center of the steering wheel is a sticker and is a bummer. So is this knock-a-duck and the plate in the back. The Mustang has an abundance of amount of prints, including the striping going the full length of the car on the top, the stripes on the sides of the car, this louver detail, this Mustang logo is printed on up here, as well as an oil cap cover in the engine bay. Everything else is done with stickers, as well as the plates. The GT badge back here is also stickered up. However, the overwhelming majority of decorations here are done via prints. The Mustang is a clear winner in the battle of prints versus stickers, and with that, the Mustang is in the lead. Now let's talk about configuration and customization. Now I'm not talking about license plates that are swapped out, which you can do on the Ford Mustang, the Bug, and the Cooper. The Ferrari F40, you're stuck with the plate it has. That's no big deal. But I'm talking about this. The Mini is loaded with a picnic basket, which I'm dying to show you, by the way. The F40 has a removable engine that you can display on its own. The Bug has extra accessories on the roof of the car. These are all nice things to have and will help these cars out in future points battles. However, for this, I wouldn't consider to be configurable or customizable. Now this is customization at its finest. Supercharged engine, side pipes, front splitter, rear wing, and a bottle of nitrous oxide. Yeah, I know I've had that hidden in the trunk the whole time here. But just to be clear, that wasn't standard issue for a 1967 Mustang. Now let's get the rest of these added on. And with that, the car has been transformed. It really is a beast. These are the extra pieces, and it's so easy to reconfigure back to stock. But wait, there's more. Yes, there's a knob to turn down here on the bottom to give it some forward rake. You can get pretty aggressive with this thing. There's a lot of technique that went into making that action feature happen. The end result is pretty darn cool. The Mustang gets a point for its customizable options, and now that it's supercharged, let's do a battle of the engines.
Gentlemen, start your engine!
That clip never gets old. Here's the Countach's V12 engine. It's not part of this battle, but if you missed the matchup between the Countach and the F40, go check it out. It was a close battle, I'm not gonna lie. Now let's start off with the F40, shall we? We can already see engine details peeking through the slats. Lift this up. Now what holds it up is this prop here. And how cool is that look? Very displayable. And it gets better. You can take out this twin turbo V8. So the prop actually sticks through this hole here, but you can really just put it anywhere. It works. Now to remove the engine, we'll remove this part here. It's attached to some pin connections. And then this whole thing just pops out like that. We've got a serious battle going on right now between Ferrari's twin-turbo V8 and Ford's supercharged V8. The Bug in the background is feeling a little bit intimidated. Now, I do have to give props to this four-cylinder popping out 40 horsepower, not because of his size, but yeah, because of his size. It's so small, but so much detail went into it, into that build. Really love that. But the real winner goes to the Mark VII Mini Cooper. Nah, I'm just kidding. The thing is, this supercharged engine is not the only thing represented for the Ford here. Look at all of this detail going on. We've even got a battery over here. Let's put this air filter back into place. There's a suggestion of a radiator fan and some serpentine belts. So here's how I'm going to deal out points. The Cooper and the Bug each get a participation point. The Ferrari F40 gets 2 for the extra detail and the removable option. But the Mustang takes home the gold here and gets 3. Yeah, I can do that. I don't think I'm being unfair though. I mean, look at the difference between the detail of these two. I think that's at least a 2-point differential. Remember when the Mustang was the last one to get on the scoring board? Well, now it's pulling away in this competition, and things are not going to get any easier for the other 3. I'm going to be taking a quick look at trunks next. However, let's introduce a twist in this competition. In addition to gaining points in regular points battles, these cars can now be susceptible for losing points for random stuff. Now, you've already seen the trunk space for the Mustang with the nitrous oxide. That is cool. That adds to the cool factor. However, the trunk is not finished up. There's a lot of Technic stuff showing through. I mean, it's okay. Inside the Bug, this is pretty well finished and useful with the spare wheel. Once you take that out, it doesn't look too good, but just leave that in. Things look pretty clean there. Not very exciting, but useful. This is pretty exciting, how you can display this open. Now, the actual usable trunk space is very limited, but that's how it is on the real thing. Now, with the Mini Cooper, okay, maybe I hyped that up a bit too much. There's your picnic basket.
Boo-boo! I think it's time I introduce myself to that picnic basket.
But wait, there's more. That's pretty impressive that they found the space to flip up this floor to reveal a spare. That spare is the same one that's seen in the Beetle, and that's not the only same feature. So we've got headlights reused on this build as well. I almost took away a point for copying so much. This is not part of the trunk space per se, but you can store things on the roof, and I'm going to consider these extras as part of the trunk battle, if you will. And now would be a good time to take out that towel that's behind the back seat. Now, I'm going to be getting to the battle of the interiors very soon, but here's how you access that towel. Take off the roof, tilt the back seat forward. There you go. All of this extra cargo for the Volkswagen and the Mini Cooper should account for something, right? Let's go to the scorecard. The trunk space for the F40 is pretty lame. Though the way it opens up is pretty freaking awesome. It's going to get a point down the line, don't worry. The Mustang, the nitrous oxide bottle in the trunk is awesome, gets a point. All the extra cargo for the Mini and the Volkswagen earned both of those cars 2 additional points. All right, now let's talk about handling and functionality. I'm going to be wheeling and dealing points pretty quickly here. It rolls okay. Everything opens as it should, except for the doors. They open way too far, and if you push it far enough, the mirror gets out of alignment. We get to take off the roof easily like that, move the stick shift around, even this e-brake. And this giant steering wheel, well, it turns, but doesn't turn the front wheels. By the way, the door incident cost the Cooper a point, so now let's talk about the F40. So it rolls well in a straight line, doesn't have any functioning steering. There's nothing really that comes out of alignment or gets knocked off easily, except for this windshield. That happens, but it's not a big deal. It doesn't come off completely. Headlights flip up and close. All of these compartments open. Doors open just fine. Now this roof doesn't flip open, but I don't think that's a big deal because the interior is really small. Now the Beetle is best in class when it comes to rolling. It just is so smooth, smoother than all the other ones. The doors, they open at 90 degrees. They pretty much stop right there. So I think that's a good thing. The hood, trunk, open just as you would expect. Nothing really pops off when you're handling this. These potentially pop off. It's supposed to do that. Functionality doesn't stop there, so you can pop the top, access the interior. The steering wheel has some tilt, as well as the seat backs, so you can access the back seats, or imagine there's a guy that sits in the back seats. We're going to test that out a little bit later. The only issue I have with handling the Mustang is that this mirror gets knocked out of alignment way too easily. That's going to cost it a point. However, the doors open and have a limit just where it needs to be. So with that, it gets that point back. You can easily pop the roof off to access the interior. And check this out. The steering wheel turns the front wheels. Let's try it when it's on the table. Yes, it's working.
It's working! It's working!
So what exactly happened there? Well, though Sepulpa was not racing fair, Anakin did win the pod race and became free of slavery. So what exactly happened here? The MC lost a point for the door swing, but gained a point back for the movable shifter. The F40 is solid all around, it gets a point. The Bug has the least amount of resistance, allowing it to roll in another point. And the Stang, well, it lost a point for its unstable mirrors. Unstable? Did I just make up a new word? Unstable mirrors, but quickly got it back with its door functionality. The Stang has a 2-point advantage over the Beetle. This next challenge, I'm going to bring in a little friend. His name is Tom. No, really, he's literally a little friend. He's looking pretty dwarfed next to the Mustang. The seat is a bit big for him. He can't even sit back all the way. And there's not quite enough headroom for him to fit in the back seat. So Tom wasn't a very good fit for this Mustang, but that doesn't take away from this spacious interior. A lot of accessibility, and love the gear shift. Oh, it actually moves. By the way, on the underside of the roof is a rear view mirror. Now moving on to the Beetle, Tom has found his perfect car. Wow, he looks really good in there. An excellent fit. Let's see if we can close the roof. There we go. I kind of get the feeling Lego designed this car for Tom. Look at how well the seat captures his contours. Love the part usage, by the way, of the door handle with the phone element. Couldn't quite get him to fit inside the F40, but he looks pretty cool standing next to it. He's checking himself out in the mirror. The interior of the F40 is pretty cool, pretty well proportioned. Now, speaking of proportions, here comes Tom in the Mini Cooper. Tom is not the one that's out of proportion here. The interior details are. Now, as you can tell, he's sitting in the passenger seat because, frankly, there's no way he can fit around that giant steering wheel. The seats are also gigantic. It's just very comical in proportion to the rest of the car. For the battle of the interiors, Tom's pick goes to the Beetle. The Mustang also gets a point for the movable shifter and spacious cabin. The Mini Cooper loses one for its oversized steering wheel and seats. Let's all salute Tom Technic for his hard work here. Now it's time for him to go. Bye-bye. Probably should have put his helmet on. He'll be all right. I've got 3 more matchups planned, and let's be honest, it's not looking good for our Mini Cooper, with a 6-point difference between that and the first place Mustang. We've got the battle of the exteriors, the overall build experience, final presentation, and then we announce a winner. I feel like these 3 cars are at a disadvantage because of their scale. They're much smaller than this one, so I would expect greater things from this Mustang. So for that reason, I'm going to give these 3 cars a handicap point. Or better yet, let's do a double points round for the battle of the exteriors. And I brought the Mustang back to stock form because it was just too overpowered. The Mini Cooper was pretty cool for its time, like the choice of ice skate piece for the door handle. These fenders are recolored transparent windscreen pieces, now in opaque earth green color, like the silver metallic highlights of the rear and front bumpers. Was this the only British car in the Creator Expert theme? The F40 showcased some improvements, not just in building techniques and shaping, but also some elements. We've got silver wheels instead of the light gray that was used on the Mini, and custom wheel inserts. This windscreen element is new for this set, and though not every detail was built up, there's quite a bit of stickers, Most of them were, like these Countach and the headlights and taillights. Perhaps it's a bit short on length, but I love the level of detail. Really good for a 10-year-old set. The Beetle required a lot of recolored elements in dark azure, and the shaping that's accomplished here with standard Lego bricks is nothing short of amazing. Like, for example, the new elements used for the wheel arches, or this slight angle of the doors going inward towards the hood. The front window doesn't really capture the real car, but it is a new window piece where it's a bit thinner so that it doesn't extend out onto the sides like the Mini Cooper. So it was a slight improvement. But the shaping back here is spot on. The Mustang also had some new elements, including these long curved slopes and the wheels, the rims, specifically designed for steering in mind, to have enough room on the inside to have this feature, but also a suggestion of a brake rotor. Though the Mustang is not as curvy as an Italian sports car, you really have to appreciate the authenticity of its shaping. Really like the inlet features back here, and the way that all of this came together was absolutely amazing. In the battle of the exteriors, 1 point goes to the F40 for its details and custom wheels. The Beetle is a wash, meaning I could take away a point for its inaccuracy with the front window, but everything else is shaped up really well, so I'll just leave it as is. But remember, this is a double points round, so the F40 actually capitalizes on a bonus point. The Mustang gets a point for its new rims and accurate shaping. Now let's go ahead and address overall build experience right now, because there's a clear winner. The Mustang gets a point for that category. The pieces are sorted better, less stickers to deal with, more interesting instruction manual than all the others, great functionality and building techniques. It's a hands down win. Now there's one more point in this competition I'm going to hand out, and it's not going to affect the leader in this competition. It's going to affect second place. This is the overall presentation and display, and that point goes to the Ferrari F40 with all of its functions and opening compartments. So my final rankings for this creator expert matchup puts the Mini Cooper in 4th place, the Bug gets 3rd, the F40 gets silver, and the Mustang gets gold. However, the Mustang has new competition, so stay tuned.